the gangster that is the President of the United States held a rally in El Paso, Texas, to try to convince the people who live there that, contrary to the truth, they lived in one of the most violent spots in America, and that their city was under siege by gangster brown people who were duct taping women into groups and putting them in vans, and they were bringing in tons of drugs, and they were killers. And meanwhile, the people of El Paso, including the mayor, who is a Republican, tried to point out that Trump was as full of shit as a Christmas goose. There was no truth to anything that he said. And yet the people inside that mosh pit of crazed, mouth-breathing Trump supporters seemed to suck it all up, while Trump churned up the violent rhetoric and churned it up and kept it going until finally one of Trump's mouth-breathing fuckwads went a little bit berserk and went after the lying press and violently pushed and cursed at a photojournalist from the BBC, because Trump fuckers have no idea what BBC stands for unless it has something to do with a porn site they go to. They have no idea that to attack a photojournalist from a foreign news agency because Trump is talking about the rotten American media makes about as much sense as these yahoos can gin up to do anything. The BBC issued a statement and said that its cameraman, a guy named Mr Skeans, was, quote, violently pushed and shoved by a member of the crowd, end quote, while covering this massive circle jerk of all these red-hatted, ignorant fucking savages who gather around Trump like flies around a shit pile. BBC spokeswoman Charlotte Morgan said in a statement Tuesday to the Washington Post, which is where this story comes from, she said, quote, the man was removed by security and Ron is fine. The president can see the incident and checked with us that all was okay, end quote. She added, quote, it is clearly unacceptable for any of our staff to be attacked for doing their job, end quote. Officials with the Trump campaign did not immediately respond to a request for comment from the Washington Post. As the Post, Philip Rucker, and others reported, Trump spoke for about 75 minutes Monday, attempting, quote, to paint an image of crime and lawlessness on the border while claiming falsely that violent crime went down in El Paso after a wall was built, end quote. Trump said, quote, we need the wall. It has to be built. And we want to build it fast. He said that as people in the crowd chanted, build the wall! Build the wall! What kind of fucking animals has this country produced that will respond to a psychotic gangster like Trump? And while the crowd was chanting, build that wall! Trump interrupted and said, no, you really mean finish the wall. In his mind, a wall at his order has already been begun. It has not. And he talks constantly as though there is one and it's being added to. This man is evidencing every fucking sign of rampant psychosis And that Christian little fuckwad Mike Pence and the scum that makes up his cabinet will not put into effect the 25th Amendment and shove this son of a bitch back onto the streets in New York where he belongs. The cameraman, Skeans, from the BBC, told BBC News, and therefore it went all over the world. Not that the world doesn't understand the United States is now in the grip of a fucking psychopath. But he told BBC News that he didn't see the man in the crowd coming at him, but he felt what he called, quote, a very hard shove, end quote, that almost knocked him down. He said, Skeens said, I didn't know what was going on. Video that appeared to be from this guy's camera showed the camera fall toward the ground. Seconds later, when the picture was restored, a man in a red "Make America Great Again" hat could be seen being restrained as he shouted, "Fuck the media!" BBC Washington correspondent Gary O'Donoghue wrote on Twitter that the man jumped onto the media platform, quote, tried to smash our cameras and shoved Skeans. A photographer based in El Paso tweeted another video after the apparent attack, writing, quote, just had a man shove photogs and equipment over, end quote. Now Trump, this filthy pig gangster Trump, this outrageously ignorant psychopath, this malignant narcissist, Trump, has continuously attacked U.S. media. And part of that attack has included labeling journalists, quote, the enemy of the American people, and calling their coverage of him with his criminal activity fake news. According to CNN analysis, in the year after he was elected, Trump used the word fake, as in fake news, fake stories, fake media, fake polls, more than 400 times. Describing the Monday altercation, a reporter for the Washington Examiner wrote on Twitter that leading up to the encounter, Trump had, quote, railed against the media. After the incident, however, Trump pointed toward the crowd and asked, you all right? Everything okay? And then he flashed his famous little dicky thumbs up thing that he does. What? With his tiny thumb. Now, it's not over. BBC America Bureau Chief Paul Danaher requested yesterday a White House, quote, review of the security arrangements for the media, end quote, after his cameraman was pushed the way he was Monday night. Danaher, who is the BBC America Bureau Chief, said, quote, I've written to the press secretary asking for a full review of security arrangements for the media after last night's attack on our BBC cameraman at the president's rally. Access into the media area was unsupervised. No one in law enforcement intervened before, during, or after the attack. End quote. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment from The Hill, which is where this story comes from. Let's see what else The Hill says. A spokeswoman for BBC told The Guardian in a statement that the cameraman was, quote, violently pushed and shoved by a member of the crowd. The statement added that Trump, quote, checked with us that all was okay, end quote. Trump could be seen gesturing to the crowd during the rally and asking, "You all right? Everything okay? Eh?" A representative for BBC said, quote, "The man was removed by security and Ron is fine," the cameraman. "The president could see the incident and checked with us that all was okay. It is clearly unacceptable for any of our staff to be attacked for doing their job." This is Trump. This is a violent, psychotic man. This is somebody who, had he not been elected president, eventually would have killed someone. He may still. I mean by his own hand. I don't mean with the actions that he takes, like separating children from their parents, like calling people who are seeking asylum criminals. This dirty fucking man, this rotten man. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. You have your choice. You can listen to the ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.